Hi, I'm Brandy Dusky, and I am a non-degree endorsement candidate for Building Leadership, and this is my ePortfolio. We'll start by looking at a quick overview of my goals video where I introduce myself as a candidate, talk a little bit about who I am, where I work. I am currently a school psychologist in North Central Kansas, working in the Concordia School District, and some other activities that I'm involved in that lend themselves to leadership, which would be involvement in professional organizations and also as a school board member. Additionally, my goals, both personally and professionally, were included looking at 1 to 5 years in the future, 6 to 10 years, and then beyond 10 years. Overall, my overarching goal would be to be a special education director someday, though I'm in no hurry to make that transition quite yet, so I'm looking more at the 6 to 10 years out and facilitating increased learning opportunities as a school psychologist and continuing that practice. Looking at my leadership philosophy, I really dove into some of the information that we learned in coursework to create my leadership philosophy. I created this graphic that includes some of the information about my leadership styles. Overall, I am a steward servant leader, which is not typical of leaders, especially in the United States. But I do incorporate some transformational, and I recognize the importance of the situation as well. Overall, I lead with integrity, humility, and courage, recognizing that being truthful and honoring my word is necessary and important. Doing the right thing even when no one's watching is kind of a motto that I live by. Humility is also something that I recognize as an important skill as a leader, having that self-confidence and self-awareness to recognize that I don't have all the answers, and it's okay to admit that and seek support from others, or look for the answer myself and come back at a later time, not having the answer right away. And then also leading with courage, having the ability to have those hard conversations is necessary as a leader. My plan of study as a non-degree endorsement candidate is a little less than a typical candidate in that I'm not seeking a master's. However, I also did not need to take school law, as I took that in my school psychology coursework, and special education for school leaders was not necessary, as I previously taught that course as an adjunct professor for Fort Hays. I started my program in January 2021 and am finishing it up December 2021. I included my vita as opposed to a resume just because I thought it lended itself a little bit better to leadership qualities. Educational background, I am a school psychologist and am currently seeking educational administration endorsement. I recognize that many of the areas that I have expertise within as a school psychologist also lend themselves well to building leadership, ethical boundaries in schools, ethics in education, classroom management. Many of those things are also relevant for building leadership. Looking at honors and distinctions, my boss tells me I should never miss an opportunity to discuss that I was named the Kansas School Psychologist of the Year in 2020, and as such, I am a current nominee for the 2022 National School Psychologist of the Year, and I'm still waiting to hear back on that process. And then just some service to the profession as a member of the National Association of School Psychologists. I am the current delegate to Kansas, and I also am a member of the Kansas Association of School Psychologists Executive Board. Multiple professional learning opportunities within my work environment, but also presentations at the national, state, and local level outside of my role as a school psychologist, providing in-service opportunities. The activities that I logged for my portfolio, I needed to log at least 150 hours of activities towards the 7 standards with 22 separate components spread across the 7, and logging activities at the district, elementary, and secondary level. I used this form to log that information, and then the following sheet was created, and I just color-coded it to make sure that I had all of the information included in there, and then the components are listed across the top. Just making sure that I have at least one in each column was helpful. But Dr. Moody also provided this activity tracker, which is helpful to make sure that each component is covered, but also that I have the appropriate number of district, elementary, and secondary activities. So using this to check off those activities on each level and recognizing that I have at least a check mark under each component was helpful in crossing my T's and dotting my I's. The annotated bibliography was quite the undertaking. It included 33 articles, over 11 different topics that are related to educational leadership, including an APA reference, a summary, and then also an assessment of the summary and how useful that information is, and then a reflection back over how I can use that information later on as a school leader in my career. And again, they're just listed there underneath the different topics. After you get to the third one, then there is a new topic presented with three summaries underneath it. Looking into the activities a little closer, I needed to complete these slideshows regarding the activities at the district, elementary, and secondary level. So my district activities, briefly, I reviewed mission and vision statements. I provided professional development to another cooperative. I am a part of the special education leadership team and engage in activities for staff development in that capacity. I am a member of the executive board of the Kansas Association of School Psychologists, and we regularly collaborate with diverse populations and other communities for the meeting the needs of students within the state. And I was provided an opportunity to evaluate a limited apprentice teacher candidate using the KEEP teacher evaluation rubric, which was helpful for me because I'm not evaluated on that rubric, and so seeing it was beneficial for me. The elementary activities I engaged in was I created and updated our SIT team data log of how we track student improvement data through our SIT process at the elementary level. I presented to building administrators within the cooperative on special education law. I helped provide special education professional development to new special education teachers in a SPED 101 or SPEDtacular, as we called it, last summer, teaching them how to complete the paperwork appropriately, but also discussing appropriate ways to provide specially designed instruction. Here's a picture of us doing a mock IEP and a quick snippet of a video about that mock IEP as well. Next. I am a member of the SIT team within my district and buildings and engage in conversation through those meetings to talk about data as well as appropriate interventions to meet student needs. I reviewed the resources available within the community and determined whether we have access to those internally or externally, and it was eye-opening to recognize how many of those resources are available and not tapped into, but also the ones that are needed but not available. Over the summer, I reviewed the Sunday reading system and KP math system for strategies and interventions to provide through special education for specially designed instruction curriculum for teachers to use. And as a member of the CASP Executive Board, I planned and executed the virtual convention this fall regarding collaborative problem solving and restorative practices. We invited teams from schools, not just school psychologists, so we had administrators, social workers, counselors, and school psychs all in attendance learning how to implement those strategies in their buildings, and it was very well received. And then my secondary activities include On the district leadership team that I'm a member of, we have engaged Tazen to work on improving our MTSS process within our district and have spent some time reviewing the self-correcting feedback loop where we talk about how information from each building's leadership team can be shared with the district leadership team and move through that process. I created two presentations regarding ethical decision making and a review of leadership styles and how ethics play a role there. Providing professional development to school counselors, high school counselors within our cooperative regarding the most appropriate ways to meet student needs in the area of transition. Presenting to general education staff regarding accommodations and modifications and how to meet the needs of all students within the general education setting. I attended a very in-depth reading training over the summer based on the science of reading, but ensuring that not only do we know how to learn to read, but that we are teaching appropriately so that students can learn to read, beginning at the very basic phonemic awareness level. I created a presentation regarding digital citizenship and how we can all become better digital citizens, as well as identifying a curriculum that can be used school-wide for digital literacy. I reviewed internal and external communication styles and whether we provide one-way or two-way communication. And it was really highlighted over here on our external communication just how much one-way communication is incorporated and necessary to incorporate more two-way communication with families and community. I created documents regarding school-based budgeting and policies within the school district and how we can better comply with those, both creating an infographic to share with staff about policy to hold people accountable to that. I have attended many IEP meetings as I'm a school psychologist, but I attended several in the capacity as the LEA representative when the building principal was not able to attend. I was asked to sit on an interview panel when we were hiring our new MIS coordinator for Special Education Cooperative and interviewed 4 candidates that day, selecting and hiring the best candidate for the job. And finally, we engaged in professional development utilizing adaptive schools training over the summer and then planned and rolled out some back-to-school PD following the recommendations provided from adaptive schools for how to meet the needs of our staff most appropriately for them to be able to engage in the activities and remember the content. And that is my ePortfolio in a nutshell. Thank you for watching.